Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. So there appears to be a major problem in recent time which people have highlighted, addressed on social media, but do I agree with it in regard to things drifting away from Noah at hand, the case itself? That focus is being placed elsewhere in an unnecessary way and it's not helping the case. Well, I'm going to be giving my raw thoughts today, so be sure to stick about. But on top, we're going to be talking about the Joyce Burgau situation in which Justin Roy has called out Joyce in regard to, what is it, over 200 screenshots, these wild figures and numbers flying about all over the place. How bad is the situation? Has it really harmed the case? Because I can think of other stuff which has done a lot more damage. And it's just putting it all into perspective because whilst there might be a form of resistance or darkness, sometimes it's actually needed. Sometimes it's used as a measuring stick. So just be sure to listen in. And for those that are currently here during this live premiere, welcome. Share your reactions, comments, and anything else in the live chat box on the right-hand side of the screen. If you do want to drop a comment down below, leave it under this video. If you want to catch up on recent videos, you'll be able to locate them top right where the eye symbol is, where the full playlist will be, and some additional loose videos. At this moment in time, I don't know how many videos I've done on this case, but it's probably going to be over 200, maybe 230. But, you know, just make videos when one can and when there's actually stuff to talk about, and the discussion videos are also just as needed as the other outside of the box type of coverage. If there is breaking news, that comes first, but at this moment in time, it's a bit slow. It is why it is. But in terms of the order of how we'll do things today, I'll give you my raw thoughts. First of all, you know, has the case, the focus drifted away from it and gone elsewhere in unnecessary ways? Then I'll show you a particular post in which the video that's shared is just simply referring to a key points and a key compilation, a timeline and little interview snippets by an independent YouTube channel out there based in the UK, not me, but somebody else that did it short term. I think they're called Walk with True Crime or Walk with Kaz through True Crime. It looks like they're not covering the case anymore, but for a brief spell, the video that they did was good and it catched the interest of some online, including Joyce Burgau. But it's the comment section. A lot of heat going on there. And quite a few responses by Justin and maybe the odd screenshot as well. And I'm going to be taking a look at that, but that'll be for later. Right now, my raw thoughts are, have we drifted away from Noah Presgrove's case at hand? For the most part of it, I would say, to be honest, if we was to break it down, because that's probably just as important, if we're referring to on YouTube, specifically my channel, we are still absolutely locked in with the case at hand and Noah Presgrove. Got to take in mind, focus will go elsewhere from person to person. It's not exclusive. But if people along the way critique it and say, why are you focusing in on Caden Pressey? The case at hand should be about Noah Presgrove. There's a mistake made by a few humans out there with that mindset, and I'll just give you a few more examples. Then I might do a focused video or two for a few days or a week or longer in regard to Renee Milan, who wasn't even there but arrived afterwards, to compare, contrast with Caden Pressey and that timeline. And people will say, why are we focusing in on Renee of all people? Noah Presgrove is what's important here. You see where this is going? Then I might do some coverage on Carter Combs, Jack Newton, and a portion of Caden Pressey. Timelines there. And even Mikey Lair individually with that Snapchat post. And people will say, why are we focusing in on that? It's Noah Presgrove at hand. That's what it should be all about. Not going elsewhere, not looking at other people. Have people forgotten that when it comes to this case, If it's all about Noah and only Noah, and that's all we focus on, and we don't focus on anyone or question anyone, all we do is think about Noah. How the fuck are you going to work out who's responsible for Noah's death then? Direct or indirect? What is going on? Do people understand? When it's, if it's a true crime case, and okay, maybe murder hasn't been acknowledged by police, or it's not been added in since. But if you thought there's a possibility that it could be murder, foul play, or you think there's a possibility it's an accident, but people are still involved, others, who may or may not be aware of what actually happened to Noah, it can still include other people. And then when we look at Robin Smith in recent time and people are like, oh, why are we attacking Robin Smith? Why are you doing this, Raf? Why are people sharing screenshots of Robin Smith in a negative light? You shouldn't be doing that. It shouldn't be done in the first place. Oh, what, so we should just hide it then? What about the comment by Robin Smith mentioning how there is evidence to say that Noah Presgrove wasn't alone? Who was with him then at the time of when his death occurred? Who was it? Where? What time? How does Robin know about that evidence but doesn't know about who the people are behind it? Because what would that evidence be? Because if the evidence is of like phone pings, phone data, you should be able to track the phones back to the owners and then know the named individuals, unless police haven't given the identities, but they have mentioned about evidence existing, explained in a very vague way. Well, if that's really the case, it should be important enough for some progression to be done by now, and that's not really happened. So it's important to look at Robin Smith. It's important to look at these individual comments, and then you can link it back to Noah Presgrove. Because if it was a situation of Noah Presgrove was simply a missing person that was hiking out somewhere in Oklahoma, he was with no one to begin with, he ended up wherever with no one, it's all about Noah and where is he at? Where did he walk to? Where was he last seen? It's all about him. He. But if you had friends that tagged along, as in like a hike, the other people are just as important as the victim at hand, because the other people may know more, may have seen something, and that's why you've got to question them. That's like how it is with this particular case. Yes, it's not a missing person case, it's more of a true crime related one, which involved a brutal death outcome for Noah. Noah is the original victim. And I know we've had that debate previously where people are saying Noah Presgrove is the only victim, nobody else. Oh, so you're saying that if anyone that was there at the time onwards in regard to post-death of Noah and was at the scene and saw Noah's body, saw those injuries, it left a visual scar in people's minds and it upset others bad enough, they're not victims, they're just, they just got to deal with it. It's not that bad. Man up. Is that mentality what people are getting at? Could call it second-hand victims to witnessing something traumatic. Because that's what I mean. You will get people from the light side that will say Noah Presgrove is the only victim, but yet they still have the cheek to still talk about Caden Pressey and, acknowledge that, Caden, it's been tough on him with the resistance, the threats, and on top of it, him needing counselling or therapy because of the impact what it's done in there. With seeing Noah on the ground dead and the condition he was in, it traumatised Caden to an extent. So he has been impacted by the events, what happened. Oh, so you're acknowledging that Caden Pressey is hurting because of what he's seen, what he's witnessed back then, and it all coming out. That he is technically a victim, but those that still support Caden and look up to him and acknowledge that side of him, the vulnerabilities, there's some are the same to say Noah is the only victim. You can't go behind Caden Pressey's back there. That's a bit dodgy, isn't it? So we've already had that debate already. Still, a range of different people out there, outsiders, just don't understand it, didn't bother listening in. Still like a broken record. Will we get a broken record today? Who knows? But To say that the focus is drifting away from the case, I would say that's incorrect, and at least from my channel, what I'm covering, you know, I always manage to try and find a link and apply it back to the case and explain why it's important to the case, how it links to the timing, and much more. See, this is what I mean. In the past, people from the light side were perfectly okay at looking into the past of Caleb Newton, the 2020 Warwicker boat accident, which involved the death of a 7-year-old girl falling into the water mysteriously, as it was worded, and being killed by the propeller of the boat. And Caleb was described as having alcohol on his breath when police were nearby talking to him. Could be interpreted as drunk driving, but no issues, as in didn't get into trouble, but, you know, unfortunately happened. Then, was it Rosa Newton or someone's brother of some sort, or brother-in-law, ended up dying, and Caleb being around or present in some way, even though still couldn't find any bloody articles about it. And then Caleb with the Presgrove situation, not that Caleb was there at the time of the death, we're not seeing any evidence of that, but tagged along later post-news. Like, I interpreted it as unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time. Wherever one goes, death follows shortly after or just before. Unfortunate. But what I'm getting at is people were quite okay to acknowledge and do research on somebody's past, which doesn't directly link to the case at hand, because events that happened in the past are separate events. I know you could say, well, there's a bit of corruption here, or a bit of silencing, a bit of hushing or hush money, whatever you want to call it. That theme, but the overall event itself are different things. Even Jan Fiorillo had made links, or made reference at least, to the Warwick boating accident in one of her Facebook pages, post online, in regards to the Netflix documentary, and I think it was that same one. And then the victim's family, that 7-year-old girl, actually left some comments saying, hey, Jan, you need to keep the girl's name out of your mouth, get rid of it, remove it, how dare you. Jan got told off. There's that. All I'll say is, if people are quite okay in looking into somebody else's past in regard to events that happened years before Noah Presgrove's death, if that is allowed, then whatever is going on at this moment in time, if it comes down to research and analysing other areas, topics and people away from Noah Presgrove, that should be accepted as well. But it's not, by some. Hence why it's one-dimensional and there's a form of double standards. That's been the biggest theme consistently within this entire case. Double standards. That's how it's been for a very long time. We saw the double standards when it comes to supporting a channel. If the dark side support this channel, it's considered being paid off, deep pockets. But then if the light side supported the channel, that's deemed as okay and normal. Weird. There'll be some other examples as well, but I would have already mentioned them previously. I can't think of them all in one go. But if you used to refer to Facebook, has that drifted away from focus on the case? To be honest, what I would say is some pages maybe on Facebook, and especially Reddit, not the review page, but the bigger original Noah Presgrove Reddit page. Oh no, I'm going to get a drink of water right now just to quench my thirst. And if anybody wants to give like a face palm emoji in chat, be sure to do so, because when it comes to, we're drifting away from the case. Oh, I've seen that myself elsewhere. Okay, maybe different standards here. And it also links separately to the Joyce Burgau situation and screenshots, is that whilst others are being called out for doing it or getting a hold of material, and then how they pass it on, dish it out, and the captions, the motive behind it could be considered dark, and yet here, it's under control. That's what needs to be acknowledged. If questionable material gets out, if it's handled with care and with a very high level of appropriate nature, that's what should matter most. It's what is forgotten, most of them. And we'll get to that a bit later on. But there's been several times now on some Facebook pages, it might have been on the Army page a bit on and off, might have been on the case discussion page on and off, at least the ones that I had access to at some point or could visually see. As for the Army page, no access to it at this moment. But I saw a reoccurring post and comments about, we need to stop the drama. Whenever you see that line by anyone, we need to stop the drama, we need to stop being petty, that's like a red flag. A red flag in a vicious cycle. A lot of people saying this needs to stop, that needs to change, but there's a fair chance it won't, and it'll just go round and round. And how do I know? Because back in 2022, when there was drama, conflict, pettiness, tied up within a case, but also within people's own lives with one another, online, offline, tornado effect, clouding over a true crime case, taking the focus away. I saw the damage it did and how messy it could get, and it did. And people within a part of the drama and conflict were saying it needs to stop. Did I do that? Was I a full-on spokesperson saying it needs to stop, it needs to stop? No. Because if at any point I was caught up within drama or conflict, if I said it needed to stop, I would be a hypocrite. So it was just better keeping my mouth shut in regard to that. And if I had to do a response, drama related, or I had to defend myself, then obviously I would do at the time. And all I would say is that I would make the observation, the people going on and on about it needing to stop or it's taking it away from the case completely, some were the same causing the problems and others were just stuck it within it, going round and round in circles, and it didn't change, didn't improve. And what is it? A few years later, 3-4 years onwards, it's still happening. It's not changed. So it's worth taking that into consideration. People are still trapped out there. Within the Noah Presgrove case, the same can happen there too. There's still continuous posts on Facebook at times or comments, a little bit on Reddit as well. That's like a red flag for lack of control. If you have to keep reminding and doing posts saying it needs to stop, focus is going away from the case and it's being lost, either it's because you lack a form of confidence within yourself that you've got to constantly remind yourself that you need to do better yourself, or trying to remind other people to do better. Why can't just action be taken itself? I mean, like I said, I've been attacked in many ways by the odd individual out there who's got an obsession with me, who probably is still watching right now, and not much can do about that. And I've been extremely, absolutely lenient. I've been one of the goodest boys out there considering, because how I would react in the past, I would defend myself a lot more and have a lot more to say within reason. And I'll be telling a lot of people off as well. But this time round, in this case, I tried doing it differently just to see how it would work. And in doing things differently, that means just really focusing in on the case. And that's mainly it. And that's exactly what I've done. But has it led to a better outcome? No, it actually has led to arguably just as bad of an outcome in regard to what we have seen previously by the odd obsessed individual out there. You know, when I mention about the third group, and people like to do their interpretations and say, oh yeah, well, the dark side are included. No. The dark side are not the third group. You could say there might be some people that have gone into the dark side, but then go out and then go to wherever their master or daddy is. That could be like a spy or an informant, and it sounds so silly that online you got a spy and informant. Well, these wannabe little detectives, police people, it sounds a little bit silly, pathetic, but it just happens. It's true crime. True crime community attracts this sort of behaviour and action. It is what it is. But when I refer to a third group out there within this case community, I know exactly who they are. I know exactly who they are and their names, but there's no point even mentioning it in any videos for most part of it because I know what the outcome would be. Okay? But if there are people really on the same wavelength as me, you will know exactly who I'm thinking of. And as high chances are that people lurking in the background will be those same set individuals I'm thinking of, with the odd few names I'm aware of too that could be openly watching here and there. So yeah, look, in terms of people that have caused me the most trouble, silly behaviour, spasmodic nature, if I had to do it as a hierarchical structure, in third place is the dark side. The dark side has caused me the least trouble. Not once have I felt threatened or attacked by the dark side outright. If by any chance there was some stuff in the background at times, or people switching from group to group which I'm not aware of, there might be some exceptions, but if you're talking about in full force for who they really are and their presence, I've not been attacked that badly or threatened, anything like that, by the dark side. But in second place, the light side, I've been a bit worse off with the light side at times, with certain individuals within those groups, their attitudes, mindsets and outlook towards me. Damaging critiques and false claims made at times, impetuous behaviour, not good whatsoever. And then in first place is the misfits, the third group. The odd creator, the minions, and delusional prats along the way that actually worship on some places on Reddit. I've seen some of those comments. Yeah, wow. And speaking of Reddit, I mean the main Reddit page. Some mentions there, we need to stop the drama, this is getting petty, we're in civil wars with other Reddit pages out there too. Oh, this and that, all over the place. That is taking away focus on the case. See, this is what I mean. I think it's the easiest, clearest way to acknowledge it is, if you're a witness, if you're a person of interest, if you're a party goer, or possibly if you're a family member of one of the party goers or witnesses, any conflict, any tension, any resistance, which includes them, said individuals, and the victim's family, it's all important. It's not taking away from the case at hand, it's within the case because it all runs in parallel. If you get random members of the general public online getting involved into a case, and then another set of people do the same, and then you start having grudges, pettiness, arguments, insults, that is unnecessary. That is taking focus away from the case at hand because you're not within the case yourself. You're not a part of the case directly. You're not a person of interest. You're not a victim, for most part of it, not this or that. But you're bringing in a dark cloud, right? An external dark cloud which has nothing to do with the case, and it's taking focus away from it elsewhere in unnecessary ways. Just like how members of the general public may force a certain agenda or concept of murder and add in material and evidence to back it up, and then it turns out that material is outdated, fake, to do with a different party and different people, like the odd random video online of a fight which had nothing to do with the case or Noah. But people were trying to push it to say, there you go, there's proof, and it wasn't. So it kind of made a mockery of the idea, and for the genuine people that still believe it's murder, it made them look a bit of a joke because of one or two individuals that dragged everyone else down. Great job there. And then Nadina Rose and some other shouty people, individual with the capital letters. Change is coming. By the end of the week, it'll be solved. JJ Bumpaz involved, this and that, and murder footage, and groups of guys caught on camera, and tampering with evidence. What did that lead to? Absolutely F all sense. Waste of time. That's problematic. Outsiders that get into a case. Outsiders that seem to know more than insiders within the case. Kind of reminds me of the Dylan Rounds case. Dylan Rounds, true crime community, People got involved there. People acted as the experts. Oh, the Shack lady. Shake Shack, boom goes the room. Oh no, the Shake Shack of horrors. Turkey giveaway. People getting scammed, supposedly. Don't even know what's going on there. Just low quality, wretched. But expert. Let me talk. That type of entitlement and mindset. Hierarchical chain of command of knowing stuff, insider information, which was also known as insider bollocks, which led to nothing. Great. Yeah. Say a lot of words, fancy words too, and then confuse yourself with language and wording down the line. I don't know, I'm a bit slow now, I don't know where things are at now. Malfunctioning, yeah, great, really well done. What a waste of time that was, and the people that came along with it. General public, not within the case, not a witness, not a person of interest, but seems to know more than those within the case, cooperating with police and even the victim's family that should know more than general public because they're within the case and, communicating with police, FBI, and anyone else in between. That's when you know there's some kind of red flags. You will get the exception of possibly locals that are not tied with the case, but they're just locals in the area, and some might be of use. In the Dylan Rounds case, though, they were more a problem and a distraction. And the general public, how they act can become a distraction and can be the black hole that sucks out the energy, sucks out the focus from the case about Noah and the people within the case and diverts it towards elsewhere in unnecessary ways. That's what the problem is. But if I'm doing my videos, which I do, focusing on Robin Smith to Ashley Chadwick to Noah Presgrove to Caden Pressey to Alicia Lee to Jack Newton, Avery, Carter Brook, and along the way, these are all key familiar names, and most somehow link to the case in some way, direct or indirect. If you've got someone like Brooke Bounds Carter, she is important. Stevie Howard, important. Justin Roy, important. Why? Did they attend a party? No. But do they know? Are they connected, close to those that were from the party? Yeah. Stevie Howard, mother to Carter and Avery. Brooke Bounds Carter, almost like family, just not by blood, but pretty much family, very close friends to Stevie Howard, and then obviously connected with Avery and Carter, good friends, very close, tight bond. To have a tight bond would mean a level of trust built over time. So if Avery or Carter or maybe Logan was to confide in Stevie or Brooke, conversations may be passed about and then Brooke would know things which the general public wouldn't know of, and that can be valuable. Justin Roy, with his family that were down at the party that would have seen and experienced stuff, and then passing that intel on to Justin possibly. Justin would have second-hand information, but that's still better than the perspective of the general public that wouldn't have contact with anyone from the party or have that same level of trust with those from the party. That's why it still needs to be acknowledged. It could be considered hearsay, right? Oh, what Justin says is hearsay because it's not from the horse's mouth. What Brooke Bounds Carter says, what Stevie Howard says, what Renee Millan says, it's all hearsay. But guess what? At this moment in time, because we've not seen it publicly, as for hard evidence, what Caden Pressey says could be considered hearsay as well. And he's a direct witness. So what the fuck does that say? Just goes to put it into perspective, doesn't it? But yeah, you get second, third-hand information. Oh, it's not good enough. We want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Well, clearly, hearing it from the horse's mouth still isn't good enough until the hard evidence actually does come out. There is a time and process for that, and maybe some stuff may never be released. I do understand that. I'm very aware, because I've covered previous cases before, and it took quite some time. Yes, the recent discussions of there's a form of entitlement, people demanding for the stuff to be released as soon as possible. More, one side wants it more from one, but they themselves aren't willing to release their side, give or take 50-50. I think at the end of the day, neither side can release, so that understanding needs to be acknowledged just in general. Of course, if you put yourself out there more, you tease yourself a little bit more, you tease yourself as if you've got more to offer and more to give. People are obviously going to bite at it and want more, right? You put yourself out there more, you show a bit more, you say a bit more things slip out of your mouth. People may like the taste of it and want more. If you don't say much in the first place, you don't give much away, then people are just going to be clueless and just walk by you and brush it off and not really care too much. I think certain themes within this case are very important in regard to the miscellaneous stuff. Regardless of who said it, is the odd comments here and there by key people where it raises a few eyebrows, like not eyebrows in towards suspicion by them themselves who said it, but just overall in the case. What would be like an eyebrow raising example? It could be Jack Newton that says, well, Zachary Wright told me his opinion was Noah may have fallen out of a vehicle. But Robin Smith said Zachary never said that, never brought that up. So one person knows more than the other. Zachary's telling Jack one thing, but not telling Robin, victim's family, the same. So who's really telling the truth? From what Jack says, relaying it from what he was told by Zachary, but we don't have the actual screenshot of Zachary saying it himself, so we don't have it firsthand, right? So you've got to take that into consideration. But then Robin Smith saying there is evidence to say that Noah wasn't alone. Someone or some people were with him at the time of his death. That speaks massive volume, and yet it's just been overlooked and not followed up on. That's a problem. Then when it comes to the shorts, black shorts, white shorts, the concept of the black shorts, as described by partners in true crime, more damaged visually, evidently, or maybe not evidently, but from what they've witnessed themselves. Black shorts more damaged than the white shorts. Yeah, the concept is Noah was wearing the white shorts instead of the black shorts, and the white shorts, no visible damage, raises a few eyebrows. But I know some experts would say, well, it doesn't always necessarily mean that just because you died means your clothing has to be damaged. That on a different occasion, clothing could be more damaged, but you're not dead. Kind of like, to put it in example, I can be doing my weights, lifting weights, heavy stuff, awkward lifts, never really injure myself. And then comes Christmas Day. I'm standing up after opening the odd present, and then I twist my wrist and it's really sore. Or I'm playing rugby in the past, back in high school. I'm running about, I'm getting tackled. It takes 5 people to take me down, and that's when I didn't have any muscle and I wasn't even training or bothering. Multiple people all around me where it felt like my back was going to break because I was underneath everyone. And then another time when I was running and I dived, and another person dived to the side of me and like T-boned me, but head-butted me in the temple. No injuries after all of that. And then that one time I go for a try, I scored the points, and then as I stand up, I twist my wrist. Okay, Oliver Twist, are you listening right now? Could I have some more? No, I don't want any more twisted wrist. No twist at all. But it just goes to show how, you can do dangerous stuff, or you can do demanding physical things where there could be room for injury or error, ends up not happening. And then over the smallest of things, that's when it happens. And it's like, oh, that's ridiculous, but it can still happen. The same theory, concept, mindset can apply to the shorts with Noah Presgrove. I said, there's certain grey areas which really need to be filled in, and when they can be, then I'll obviously do a video, and it should put stuff into perspective, hopefully. But in the meantime, not much can really be done there. But to refer back to focus diverted elsewhere in the wrong way and attention being lost from Noah, not the case, because you look at my videos as example, title about Noah Presgrove, thumbnail relevant to Noah Presgrove, description, tags relevant to Noah Presgrove, talking in my video, references to Noah Presgrove, added on points and links in regards to how it can impact the case, how it can fit into the case, how it affects a certain timeline within the case of someone who was around Noah or knew Noah at the time, geographically, on an emotional level and more. Constant links, bang, bang, bang. If I am very able and capable of comparing a missing person case or another true crime case to the Noah Presgrave case, and I do it that damn well, then I'm sure it's very possible and even more easier to associate people who are already tied within the case and themes and areas about that and make valuable links to Noah Presgrave, and it doesn't lose focus whatsoever. I think people, outsiders, need to open eyes just a little bit more, and then we'll see where we go from there, right? I remember some Pratts and Plums that said, well, like, Ralph, you don't know what you're talking about. The Kenny Veach case has nothing to do with the Dylan Rounds, and the Dylan Rounds case has nothing to do with Noah Presgrave. I'm sorry, we're forgetting something. Dylan Rounds, 19 years old at the time of death, white, male, rural area, allegedly gone missing. No CCTV cameras. Not much talking or cooperating, and locals causing trouble and harm in the case. And online communities breaking down, pettiness, drama and conflict, and much, much worse and more attacks. Double standards, hypocrisy, two-faced bastards. Yeah. Go to the Noah Presgrave case. Oh, Noah, 19 years old, white, male, rural area, allegedly went missing temporarily, but then later found dead. Communication lacking to some extent. The police situation, kind of the same frustration as in with the Dylan Rounds case. Wall of silence, points in time, lacking press conferences, lacking press releases, pettiness, conflict, drama online. It's the same patterns and formula. I can make links, I will make links, and they will be applicable and, valid. Simple as, non-negotiable. As for pages, social media, elsewhere, how they conduct themselves and what they say, maybe focus is being lost in some way. Maybe repetitive post of, we need to do better, we need to change, but it doesn't actually happen. That's problematic itself, because you could consider a long paragraph, a post, a memoir, an autobiography as in a good move and a good direction, but does it actually lead to any change? No. But does it get posted again and again, either by the same person or different people? That can become a little bit annoying as well to keep seeing and keep reading, because if it ain't going to do much change, it doesn't indirectly lead to second, third hand change, then what's the point still posting about it? It's just filling up the page and the post. I mean, the cheek of some people on Reddit that said, oh, your posts are being removed, Warlight Rev, because they just don't contribute much to discussions and are not valuable within the case at hand. Is that so? Because arguably some of the same people were begging me to keep going and to keep posting. Oh, here, Warlight Rev, here's your own little exclusive custom flair or category section for this particular subreddit group for you to post on. Interesting. Very. Funny how people like to lead me into a false sense of security, then have the cheek afterwards to complain that I'm the problem. Absolute twat. It's embarrassing, okay? Really embarrassing. I do extend some of the swear words just because it's funny, that's all. But as said, the twatinator is about. I mean, I know some people said you've got interplanet Janet, intergalactic Jan or something. Was it one big leap for autobiographies, one giant step for skimmed milk? I don't know. But speaking of skimmed milk, that has reached its expiry date. Now we've just got pure wood. Okay? So big shout out. It's not a new person, but big shout out to Wood, present in the chat likely. What does that mean? We're going to get knocking on the wood. Anyone there? Yeah. Knock, knock. Who's there? A massive long comment coming your way. Oh no. Might send you to sleep. But hopefully no one walks into any wood. Yeah, pretty much. But with that being said, what we will transition on to next is onto Facebook itself in regard to the Joyce Burgau situation, which kind of ties in with this whole theme of focus being taken away and how it's being weaponized to hurt people in the case, of course, unnecessary damage from Justin's perspective in some ways. I'm going to just read it out to you, some of it at least, the important parts, and then I'll give you my reactions and response. So this post can be seen on the case discussion group 4 days ago. So it's kind of old, this. Maybe the dust has settled. Might be the best time to cover it. I will read the caption here because it's in regard to just a different YouTube channel. WTC means walk through crime, I think. And yeah. What did Joyce say? I watched this video. I watched yesterday morning. It has bits and pieces of interviews from Noah family to other individuals. Yeah, hit me hard to see how much family hurts, even though Noah's parents aren't in these. Hearts hurts for them as well. When I saw Noah's Nana, just the heart-wrenching sadness in her tears came to my eyes. There were things in this video that clearly opened my mind even more. I'm not perfect, nor is anyone else. I'm not on any dark, light, or Caden Pressey Jack Newton side. It's sad there's a separation going on here. The side I'm on is Noah and his family's side. And like everyone else looking for answers, we can all theorize and have differences, but at the end of the day, Noah is the victim. Also, it's about the ones who weren't involved in as well. We are not here to prove to anyone that we're here for. We're just here for justice, right? It sounds like just a point made, but I guess people's responses when we look at it, some can be interpreted as, oh, well, that's rich coming from you based off what you've done. And what do we have first? Nicole, oh, hell no. You don't get to play a victim. I guess Nicole is saying Joyce Burgau doesn't get to play the victim. As it's worded here, you are sharing screenshots and starting drama. That is not about Noah or justice at all. What screenshots are considered drama related and that it won't help the case? Because if it's in regard to screenshots, which I've covered on my channel, they have been extremely important. I'd say it's a little bit ignorant if people do dismiss it, but let's just see, what's added here. Justin, exactly. Then Joyce lied about it only to get caught out and then admit it. Playing both sides is not a good look. Some people may play both sides to get the most material out of both sides and then present it to others. Almost like playing as a middleman, but maybe people don't acknowledge it that way here. Nicole, just like Donna Bond, people are weird down there. Sorry, I'm really not on either side, but I hate flopping devious shit stirrer. Me too, that's why I'm exposing it. I'm only here for truth and justice, that's it. But certain people were trusted and betrayed that trust. Screenshots were taken out of context and used against people that really want justice for Noah. They're both playing both sides. Just go look at Warlight Ref's live chats. See, when Justin Roy says screenshots are taken without context, it just so happens that from the army page in the past, there were screenshots of people in conversations which did not show the full context. So let's just make that very clear as well. If there are screenshots from the dark side or presented by the dark side which only tell one side of the story, the same has happened on the army page too, if you want to word it like that. I've seen it myself. Like the people that like using over and over again the screenshot of Brooke Bounds Carter appearing with a threatening message. And yes, it can be interpreted that way. But in regards to the conversations, the post, the replies, responses, why Brooke said it in the first place, it's lacking. The screen is cropped. Other screenshots in the past of comments on Facebook, cropped. Why is it always cropped? Just show the full conversation. It's as simple as that. Show which post it's on. Show what page it came from. Don't just be guessing. I mean, Some people have taken screenshots, they've cut out the profile picture, they've cut out the username, they've cut out the responses, and they're showing a white box with some text in which mentions nothing about anyone's name. That's just not useful whatsoever. What else do we have? Case is wild. Justin, stay on the army page and be a voice for Noah. We definitely need the help. Oh God, what a coincidence with what I was saying about Brooke Bounds-Carter, and then Justin Roy repost it about, I would back off. You push a mama bear such as Stevie Howard so far into a corner, she won't have anything to do but start swinging back. And when I say she has stuff that I assure you Noah's family doesn't want to come out, I would just keep my mouth shut. What? Darkness on Noah's family being involved in stuff shady? Or Noah, which portrays him in a negative light, and whilst he's a victim in this case, of course, it could tarnish his, memory. Who knows? Yeah, it can come across as dark and threatening, but how I interpreted it with time, what Brooke Bounds-Carter is getting at is that there is another individual out there who is worse, who, if backed into a corner, can turn into a caged animal and break out and cause damage and bring other people down with him. So Brooke Bounds-Carter could be seen as giving a threatening warning, but isn't issuing the direct threat herself, just making people aware and alert that don't be pushing that other person because they could come and get you. Still not good, of course, but there's a difference between being a messenger of a threat, relaying it on, spreading awareness, and then being the originator of that threat and saying, whatever happens because of me and I'm responsible, along the lines of that. So I think it kind of gets lost along the way. I know we've seen the last one to do with Brooke Bounds-Carter where people interpreted it as, I wouldn't show your face in public if I was you. In regard to Ken and Pressy, you could interpret it as, oh, is that a threat? Because if I do show my face in public, you're going to do something, someone else is, what are you going to do? You're going to kill me? But the other interpretation could have been, I wouldn't show your face out there because you could get hurt, you could get harmed, I'm looking out for you, I don't want any more trouble on you. You can interpret it in different ways, of course. People will use the past and the behaviours from the past in regard to judging what the next up-and-coming threat could be and how it's directed. You constantly start drama, Nicole Suzanne says, Cecily Patton. We see how you talk on YouTube. Wait. Who is Nicole Suzanne on YouTube? What's their username? And on what channel? Nicole says to Cecily, calling people out is drama to you. You must live a very calm and laid-back life. Good for you. Beth Carr, it damn sure is. Trying to get information is one thing, but helping the vile clan is on a whole new level. I mean, we've got Jan Fiorillo calling it a camp. We've got Beth Carr and some of us calling it a clan. What's this? Clash of Clans? Boy-Girl Scout camping sessions? Bloody hell. What other terms are we going to use next? Same here, Amy. Just stay true to Noah and continue to be his voice. Joyce Burgau says to Beth, I'm not part of anyone's clan. Y'all can go and believe whatever BS you want. If that's how you feel, then move on. Beth Carr says to Justin Roy, is this what Warlight Ref meant about the third group, the fakes, who claim they're with us for justice, but all the same as the vile clan? I've had my suspicions for a while. No. Not quite, Beth Carr. That's not what I'm referring to. The third group, the group of misfits, individual people, and your creator, that are on the light side and in between and independent together, some familiar names, and others, ex-viewers from my channel. I call them ex because they're dead to me, but they'll still be lurking in the background, desperately watching. I know, and it could be as simple as, well, why not just say the names? Because it'll cause unnecessary trouble. So if I can already sense the drama that can come from it, and I am resisting, I am, holding it back to prevent more chaos, I'm doing a lot better job myself than what other people are doing. I think some other people need to take some lessons from me. In terms of the theme of fakes, I wouldn't even call them fakes because it's very obvious and clear as to their actions and behaviour. Whilst they might say one thing but do another, it doesn't come across as fake because they're not even trying to hide or conceal it. So it's very clear, and if people can't see it, well then, might be a bit of a lost cause. It really is clear when you start looking, and when you look at my videos, and when you look at when I've got to defend myself, and you see the odd community post, it really does explain it, puts it into perspective. Tim Daniel, thanks. Joyce Burgau, good post. Too much with all the light, dark side crap. Follow the facts and you will always just be on Noah's side. The importance of using the term light side, dark side is more of a memorable term, which is just easier for categorizing and picking up on it quick. If you just talk in general, it sounds very vague and it's hard to pick up on. There shouldn't be any sides or side taking, but it will always happen regardless of what true crime case. I've seen it myself. Justin Roy, in response to Joyce Burgau, how come when you get called out for being a hypocrite, you get my comments removed? Joyce, you took 500 screenshots per Donna Bond and now use them against people who are actually wanting truth and justice for Noah. You have been exposed. Interesting, because there's that third group of misfits that have tried attacking and pushing me away from the case, and I'm just simply trying to keep the case alive. Sounds very backwards, doesn't it? Justin says, why did you even take the screenshots and share them? You did it on purpose? Again, why don't you inbox Robin Smith and then post her response to how you've treated Jen Fiorillo? But isn't Jen Fiorillo the individual that did like those conversations in the background on Facebook and then dragged Robbie Taylor or something through the mud by falsely claiming he's of somebody else with a different account, even though it wasn't true? By Robbie's expense, it was done as like some kind of human experiment of an NDA disclosure agreement or something. Just seems a bit far-fetched. And isn't Jen Fiorillo the one who's a part of a different YouTube channel out there which is known for threatening, harassing me and much more? And yeah, Jen Fiorillo, let's just reiterate another point. Jen Fiorillo, an individual with some others that work alongside another creator out there known for making the odd post here and there, saying how they want to have sexual encounters with people that I know of in real life. You think that's normal? I think stuff like that is what's taking focus away from the case, and same-said individuals are supporting it indirectly. I think it's absolutely embarrassing. Okay, and I hope people are listening very clearly on that. But I definitely know that the lurkers in the background and the obsessed individuals will definitely be listening as well, which will probably prompt more harassment towards me. It's embarrassing then. Justin says, and yes, Warlight Ref has shared several of your screenshots. But was it always directly from Joyce Burgau, or was it from random people with time? How weird. How did he get them, Joyce Burgau? They were your screenshots. But don't they spread like wildfire? Just like the Dropbox. One person may have got a hold of it and then it's spread, and then another person spreads it, then another person spreads it. It's not always just one person, is it? But if you go back to the root of the individual, that still needs to be acknowledged. Let's see, I'm sure you're going to play the victim role now too. Kind of typical behaviour for some. So obviously, when certain truths come out, or when people believe that, oh, now we know what side you're on, then you get that turning on one another, that disconnecting and that calling out. And all the calling out is that kind of using up energy, which takes away focus away from the case. Kind of. I really am seeing it in my mind, but to put it in words may not always be a good idea. Just in the last thing I will say, Joyce Burgau, is in my opinion, I think you should publicly apologise to all the people in that group chat for you taking per Donna Bond over 500 screenshots and then somehow getting shared to Warlight Ref, Brooke Bounce Carter. Who's that? GC, who's that? Only to be taken out of context. But is it really taken out of context when context is added in by myself? That's what's weird. And used against these people. Joyce, you did that. They were your screenshots that you took, and I can prove it. Also, I know you have been working with Tim Daniel for months now and called him in to back you up. Also, he had me blocked, but I have screenshots of you and Tim's messages as well. Should I release them? Some pretty eye-opening stuff. You playing both sides is absolutely ridiculous. This is not a game. Interesting. Not a game, but there are some people out there that create deep fake AI imagery videos of me in an insulting way. I mean, you also claim to be working on the case in the background. It's very weird, isn't it? And just taking one mind, when I read Justin's comments and then the responses that I give aren't towards Justin, okay? It's towards other things and other people. It's just that some people's comments trigger a memory within me as in regard to what someone else has done at some point. It just reminds me, that's all. But you sharing those screenshots were uncalled for. You caused a lot of unnecessary drama because of it. Wonder what Noah's family thinks about it. Christine Cameron, admin here, please allow people to discuss without attacking their views. Oh, what's going on? Justin, I do apologise. I just want her to admit what she did was wrong. Just a little accountability. Oh no, Tim Daniel with a very long comment. In response to Justin, see, here's a great example of how we are different. I keep an open mind and I like to get perspective for everyone. I chat with anyone who wants to talk about the case, anyone, even you. I try and remain objective. You think there are sides, there are not sides. You invented that concept. Some of us only on no side, and we'll dig into all areas. The dark sides, the dark areas and the light areas. And that's not in terms of size, that's just in terms of, sometimes you get the dark reality questioning things which other people don't want to or feel comfortable. It needs to be done. Nothing is off limits when it comes to gathering information about the case. You are someone who creates an echo chamber so much that even your biggest supporters have gotten kicked out of your own group. You've banned anyone and everyone from your group to the point you have to go to other groups for real discussions. I used to enjoy hearing your theories and reasoning behind it. I listened to you and I listened to people like Jack's mom tell her side, and I listened to Avery, Carter's mom's best friend, share great information, and I listened to Caden and his mom Alicia. I listened to JJ and I listened to Tyler Hardy, first on scene, but you just close yourself off to all the other theories and then being beaten to death with a golf club. So you think Joyce and I play both sides. It's called being flexible, change of opinion with time. I do get that. I don't expect you to understand that it's possible to disagree with someone and still respect them like I do. Joyce, it's okay to have believed one thing and then get more information over time and then change the theory. Exactly. That's exactly what Warlight Raff did in the Kenny Veach case when material came about. There was a process to it all. Now, I didn't know Noah, and maybe that is why I don't care about allegiances to any side or theory. So, just at least from my perspective, Tim Daniel, in terms of how he types, writes, and what he says, and what I've seen at least from the YouTube side, Tim Daniel is on a similar wavelength to me, as in not being emotionally connected to the case, so you can actually think more, and even in the dark ways as well. Thinking in the dark ways at times can mean questioning the victim's family members, something you wouldn't really want or expect to do, but for that balance overall, for it to be non-exclusive, it's done to an extent at least, within reason as well. What's this? Everyone is not some dark side enemy just because they don't believe it's friends, beat them to death from a golf club. Look back at the stuff you type, ask yourself, does this spark discussion or does this just shut down discussions? Justin, not true. The sides came from Warlight Raff calling it the dark and light side. That's incorrect, Justin Roy. I was not the creator or causation of the dark and light side. I am not the originator of those terms. They were actually used before me, and then I decided to start using them myself, Justin. Maybe if you work back or look at some of my older videos, you might see it within the live chat where people started calling it the dark and light. then I started using the term myself because it was easier to do so in breaking it down as in the different groups of people. Granted, when it came to the Dylan Rounds case, I did create my own terms. The potato pickers, the undead zombie horde, the feral animals. I came up with all kinds of references over there in regards to people and groups, and it made perfect sense. But on this occasion, no, Presgrave related, I did not, do it myself. I, Warlight Raff, did not call it dark and light to begin with, but I've used the phrase since because of others. I also have your screenshots with you and Joyce talking about working both sides. So months ago you claimed there were two sides. Wait, lol. So months ago you claimed there are two sides. So that what Justin Roy says here kind of counters his first point about Warlight Ref calling it in the first place dark and light. Well, there we go. And to be honest, the only side I'm on is finding out exactly what happened to Noah and the truth. In my opinion, several partygoers are not telling the truth. Well, Robin Smith seems to say the same thing as well. Lack of communication. That's exactly where the division comes from. One group wants the truth, the other group knows the truth and will not tell it. One group that will not reveal the truth but knows about it, are you applying that to just partygoers only and or the parents, the friends as well? Like all in it. Playing victim role, they think they have some big lawsuit coming up. Why do you... Okay, do you have literally attacked Caden Pressey and Alicia and have went against what they've said. The golf club theory came from party goers more than one and they're still missing. But we see that discussion from Alicia and Justin, where Alicia came out with an opinion, an idea that, maybe it was Carter that whacked Noah on the head and then ran away when some people finished him off. Two scenarios of what happened to Noah. They both are bad. Both happened on that property. Noah was moved to the highway. Oh wait, I have to say in my opinion, I get threatened with a lawsuit. Well, there's no harm in saying, in my opinion, to protect yourself, of course, but also to protect the case too. If you've got absolute hard evidence in your own possession to say that Noah had died here and not over there, and that foul play was involved and this and that, then you probably could state it more as a fact. But if you don't have the hard evidence, it's easier just to say, in my opinion, from the looks of it, a theory, a possible concept, just makes more sense. I've done it myself for years now. Right, so you can see it does go on and on and on and on. We don't need to get too that long there because we're going to be having some direct competition with who can have the longest comments and whatnot. Of course, you can always pause the video if you want, take a look at it. Laura Dutton, Joyce, I don't something. Why are we still talking about Justin Roy if he is blocked by author? What? I haven't talked about him until Beth Carr came on here and started attacking me about the BS. I want people to leave me alone about it. Demanding answers and saying with the dark side, you'll have to read to understand. Brenda, nicely said. I love your last two sentences, and that's obviously a long one, which we might get to in a second. I just want to make sure I've not missed anything. Why delete my comment? Yeah, you buddy with them in the live chats, and I don't know what's this all about. Might not be able to read it, possibly. Right, so this is a particular comment by Justin Roy, which was supposedly deleted. You buddy with them in your live chats and send them 500 screenshots of group chat used against them. You're a hypocrite, Joyce. Half the screenshots used on Warlight Raf came from you. You and Becca Ann are not on the Justice for Noah side. You see it. You comment on the live chat. You took those screenshots. Why not admit it? There's going to be many crossovers of conflict, I think, with time. Apologies if I don't acknowledge everyone's comments. It's just because, there's so much going on here, trying to keep up with it. Of course, we've got Becca Ann. This has been such a slap in the face to people getting treated like this. Noah's Nana broke my heart. I'd like to hear your response to the allegations that have been raised about you on this thread, if it's true. That's my problem. I don't like hypocrites. And there's some more here harassing and leaving people alone. Justin just blocked me. Really is. What's that about? What are you talking about? I recorded your phone call. I have never shared anything with any of them. Just like, what videos are you talking about? Here you go, making up crap that I recorded your phone calls. I made videos of exactly what. Just like you sat there and asked me if Stevie Howard was my cousin and if I lived with her or worked with her. You said, oh, my source was from Terrell, and told you that they thought I lived with Stevie for months. Oh, no. And speaking of for months, I thought Joyce Burgau was fishing for fish on an ice lake. Go from fishing on an ice lake to absolute chaos going on here. Oh my God, Joyce Burgau. And to think that at the beginning, the only mistake that I made with Joyce Burgau was calling her Joyce Burger. I thought it was called Burger. Oh well. I am a bit hungry though. Do I look like I owe you an explanation to the cause? So I'm a bad guy, but Justin does it to others. He's done nothing, harassed me, accused me of BS. Oh, no, it goes on and on. We've got Arnold as well. So this, over and over, those calling out drama, those accusing of drama, those defending themselves, you can see it just adds on, backlog of it all. Some responses there. I'm just clicking on it all so you can, view it yourself, read it if need be. What does Joyce say? Believe GFNs would be able to pinpoint that down if that were the case. As for deliveries, most places, okay. Yeah, I said I do have my own thoughts, and I don't want it to be overshadowed by all of this, but also I do want, people's comments to some extent to be acknowledged, right? So Brenda with a positive comment, Justin Roy responds, don't be fooled by Joyce, she's playing both sides. She's the one who took the screenshots and shared them with Donna Bond and Warlike Ralph, and somehow Brooke Bounce Carter and George got them. But in what order, though, did it happen? I appreciate you looking out for me. I get along with Joyce. I try to get along with everyone. And the reason why Brenda is able to get along with a range of different people out there is because Brenda is a good individual and is patient. Justin, I hear you. I did until she screenshot comments from a group chat. BBC, George Garth. No, he's apparently recorded my phone call. See, not like it's a major issue, but the way Justin Roy groups my name with some of the individuals, I know how that will go down when it comes to other people out there that will suddenly then jump on the bandwagon and think, oh, BBC's name, WLW's name, George as well. Oh my God, they're all in the same bed as one another. Oh my God, all in the same bed? Poor Lan on the floor. What a shame. But no, you get the idea of how it can be misunderstood, how at times my name can be said in the same sentence as somebody else's name and then I get all the attacks for it. That's exactly what happened in the Dylan Brown's case. It was very unnecessary. I'm predicting where it could go this, so we'll see if my predictions are correct in the future in my mind. Joyce, what are you talking about? I recorded your phone call. Oh, it's this again, isn't it? So who did you share the screenshot with, Joyce? You claiming you've been on the property before? I told you, making false allegations about me, about recording phone calls and stuff. I've been to that very far back trailer when a family by the last name of Ramirez lived there next. Stop accusing me of BS. If I shared screenshots with someone and Warlike Raf, BBC and George got them, I would definitely want to know why that person sent them to them, yet you act like you don't care. I apologise for the people that's taking productive time away from those case, Brenda. So we've got some positive comments there. Oh no. And then Justin says to Becca, why do you all of a sudden sound like Brooke Bounce Carter? Y'all act exactly the same. Trash, with the emoji. So it's all going downhill from the looks of it, as you can see. We're going round in circles over and over again. Regardless of who started it first, and in terms of the screenshots themselves, what are the screenshots? Sarah Smith, Jack Newton's mom, biological mom, responds to Justin. Quick question. How is Joyce Burgau taking screenshots from a message and sharing them a bad thing? Is that not the same exact thing you did to Jack Newton, my son? Did Jack give you permission to share his private messages with you? Ooh. This is where it starts getting hard hitting because, mother to Jack Newton. And then Justin says, oh, look, I guess Tim called you in here. And that's not what happened at all with Jack. I was in a group chat with people and trusted and now have blocked. Yes, I shared those messages in that group chat that a few people shared to the public. Right, so basically what Justin Roy is saying is he took screenshots of a private conversation with Jack Newton without Jack's consent, possibly, but the justification behind it was, well, where I reshared it was in another private chat, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But if you went behind someone's back in the first place, that's still a damage of trust. And then to say that you have been stabbed in the back by other people, it sounds like a constant cycle of, you've got a bully who bullies someone, and then that victim becomes the bully, and then bullies someone else, and then that victim becomes a bully, and then bullies someone else. It's an endless repetitive cycle. It's just that Warlight Raph is different to most humans because Warlight Raph can be abused by an abuser, which has happened, but then later down the line ends up getting abused by an abused victim instead of an abusee. Then I end up getting screwed or used by a negative person, screwed or used by a positive person, and then we finally got a full house. That Warlight Raph's reality is absolutely fucked up. But I'm still breathing. Clearly they didn't do a good enough job, did they? Sam gets wild, wacky, and messed up. But it's interesting what Sarah says here. But additionally, why do you take them out of context like Joyce and Donna did? Yes, that's shady as hell, and then they get blasted on a podcast out of context. Well, they're not blasted on mine out of context because I'm not a podcast and I provide context myself. Sarah Smith responds, Jack Newton's mom responds to Justin, that's bullshit and you know it. You sought out Jack and bombarded him with messages asking for details that he didn't have. He told you any and everything he knew. You chose to screenshot a very tiny portion of that and blasted it all over Facebook with the spin that Jack knew what time Noah died. You can't get mad at Joyce for screenshotting anything, Justin. You're the king of twisting screenshots. I mean, at least from the perspectives of those screenshots from Jack Newton, they were very selective. It didn't show the full conversation. It showed that Jack saying the time of death was this, but not in regard to what was said earlier above, as in, oh, I heard it from this person, I heard it from that person, or below. It was cropped, only parts of the conversation shown, so the full context not provided. And when Justin Roy calls out other people for not providing full context, well, arguably it's not been provided full context as well on the Army page. So I've seen it all over, if I'll be honest with you, what I've witnessed, which is problematic. Quite. Sarah says, are you kidding me? You are seriously going to try and tell me you never shared Jack's DMs without context with the intent to make it look like he had done wrong? Justin, the entire effing internet says Jack knows what time Noah died, and that came from you, buddy. You didn't share the conversation. You shared that one message of his. You messaged him so much you knew he was just searching for answers and throwing out all the information he knew, thinking you'd actually help. And then you cut up the conversation and spewed your nonsense everywhere for what? Justice for Noah? Please, you only knew Noah was being Jack's best friend. Answer this question. How many times did you see Noah without Jack in the near vicinity? I want your actual answer to that. Well, that's not true at all. So I did not share DMs publicly. And Jack freely knew what time Noah died. That's still very odd, especially back in September 2023. He said that, not me. Heck, I didn't even ask what time Noah died. Jack just said it. But did Jack give a context as to where he heard it from? If that could be added, that would be appreciated, but yet to see that. I'm not going to argue what you think I did or didn't do. I did not share Jack's DM publicly first, but you did share it in another group chat, so technically, did you betray Jack's trust or what? See, this is the thing. You can get like a rapist mentality, and you might be thinking, what the fuck am I talking about? Don't worry, it's all under control. I'm going to explain it to you in a second. But as a trigger warning, if anyone doesn't want to hear dark stuff, put it on mute, because it's going to get very, very dark. Okay, and I'll give another disclaimer in a second or so. Sarah Smith, you know what? Actually doesn't matter. I know what you're doing here. You know what you're doing here. You and I both know you lost sight of Noah a long time ago, and that's heartbreaking. You're loud, persistent, and take charge, yet you've used none of those attributes to actually find answers. You've lost sight of Noah. Justin, you know, and I know you know. Okay, so it's going on and on and on and on and on. Did you know that Joyce was also a voice on social media and that she's actively seeking answers? Your messages also contain info which is of interest to the public. I'm not seeing the difference, actually. Lolling at you saying you had no malicious intent with sharing Jack's messages, and finally, so if Jack asked you to remove the screenshots that you shared to whatever group, you would remove them, would you? And stop posting them or allowing them to be posted? Is that how this works? We don't know. Jack thought he was doing anything and everything he could to help find out what happened to his best friend. He thought you were trying to help. The stupidest thing about all this is Jack doesn't even care what you've done. I'm the one that's mad about this, the mother. It's understandable in that sense. Just like how Alicia Lee could be mad at people for going behind her back or Caden's back in some way when Caden had to be interviewed here and then. There wasn't much clarity. Right, so it really goes on and on and on. Absolute chaos. Now it's time for Warlight Wrath to step in and maintain a bit of control. Right, so now here I am with my thoughts, just to add on, make sense of it. I don't know what's going on with the hair, but I think it's under control. What I'm about to say next is very dark in a way, but it's an observation that I've made with time. Okay? In terms of the actual act committed, doesn't link to here or there, but the mentality and mindset and the theme of dismissing or playing down something, external manipulative minimization, is exactly what's evident and present. I'm going to give you an example right now and an example behind a person's mindset when it comes to playing down something to protect themselves as a last-ditch attempt of defending themselves. If it's a bit too dark, you can pause the video, you can mute it, you can fast forward ahead, because I don't want it to cause any indirect trouble. But the rapist mentality does exist, and a range of humans in life will use it, subconsciously, and I've come across it myself. What the rapist mentality is something that I've created myself in terms of the term, the method, and the mindset. The actual act of rape, where mainly a male, it can be female as well, but it kind of reminds me back to Dylan Brown's case as well, with an indirect person caught up within it, but in terms of what they did to a 15-year-old in the past, and went in court and they said, well, it couldn't have been that bad because this person took him that long to report it, or as for damage psychologically, it wasn't that bad, was it? So that's a bit of context there as to where it may have came from, but the act of someone, such as a male raping another person, just in general, let's put it that way, the victim, even though they may not want to be referred to that, understandable, the one on the receiving end of it can well be damaged physically and or psychologically long term. In the moment, long term, developed later on, how the person may feel. It's not good. But the one that's caused all that damage, when they're caught out, when they're called out officially or publicly, their response could be along the lines of, well, is it really that bad? They wanted it anyway. That's one of the excuse lines to try and dismiss it. They could go extreme and add it on by saying, well, it couldn't have been that bad because physically they're okay. They got something out of it. That could be another layer and tear. They could also possibly say and diminish it, the damage, as in, well, the person can't be that damaged because, they've got on with life, they're still moving on, so it can't be that bad. I didn't do much wrong. That's another tier to it. And then one of the worst ones could be where the person says, well, if it's supposedly rape, well, they enjoyed it because look at their body and how their body reacted to it and how things came out or got wet in different ways. Clearly the body was enjoying it. So there you go. How does that link to a situation here there in the Presgrave case? The case of you could be responsible or get caught out in pushing an agenda without a full context or story, cropping images and screenshots of certain conversations to push your idea, to highlight someone in a more negative light than what it really is, based on what the rest of the conversation says. And the moment you're caught out for doing something like that, whilst at the same time you got the cheek to be calling other people out for doing the same said activity, the way you play it off is back down and say, well, you know what I actually did wasn't that bad, if not bad at all, because where I actually did it, I did it elsewhere, or I did it in private anyway. You kind of like add in additional factors whilst backtracking to justify your actions and behavior, to minimize it, to play it down, so then you come across as a better person than other people. And that's a bit manipulative, but it's also kind of a human instinct within, because when you're caught out but at the same time calling other people out, you do not want to be seen as a complete full-on hypocrite. So you'll try and play it off and minimize the damage, minimize your own actions and darkness by saying it wasn't that bad, I didn't do that much wrong, and anyway, it wasn't publicly anyway, unlike you lot that did. It's like constantly trying to find excuses and responses to play up the actions of other people, but to play down the impact that you've had negatively on the case. And that doesn't just apply to one person, it can apply to different people in different situations in the case, but I've definitely seen it. The rapist mentality of manipulative external minimization is absolutely clear. But the minimization could apply to Jack Newton as well. Whoa, yeah, we're going dark because we're going balanced. If I'm going to call or highlight Justin Roy, it's only right that I do the same elsewhere with a different contrasting example for that balance, such as Jack Newton. A form of dismissing and minimizing would be based on Caden Pressey's timeline. Let's just make it clear. Room for interpretation. When Caden Pressey said he overheard the argument past midnight Saturday of Noah starting the argument yelling at Jack, but the context was Jack was flirting with Noah's girlfriend at the time behind his back, so obviously Noah would feel betrayed for that, and given peace of his own mind, that's understandable. But for later in conversations online or interviews for Jack to play it off and say, well, the argument was kind of 50-50. We both apologised. We both cried and made up and hugged each other, making it sound like that both people were at fault. But if your best friend has gone behind your back and flirted with your girlfriend, and then now the argument is, yeah, but we're both to blame for it and we both apologise, it's very manipulative, that dismissive. You know you've done wrong yourself and you've been caught out, so now you're trying to play damage limitation by spreading the blame elsewhere so it doesn't all fall on you. Hence why when it came to Warlight Ref and the Dylan Rounds case in community, hardly anyone ever apologised to me because it was 100% their fault and nothing to do with me, and they couldn't take full accountability or responsibility. But the times of where those individuals and others elsewhere did it to one another and it was 50-50, people were more likely to apologise because they got an apology back. But when humans mess up all by themselves, they cannot admit it and they cannot get on their knees and bow down to Warlight Ref. It's very unfortunate that. And that example is just used in a bit of a sarcastic tone before people start jumping into the bandwagon of, oh my God, he's a narcissist, because, you know, people love using that trendy, quirky word out there to appear more intelligent than what they really are. It's embarrassing, to be honest. But, yeah. In regard to downplaying stuff within the case, those within the case, those outside of the case, within the community, it's all over the place. The rapist mentality crosses over in terms of the act of minimizing and dismissing stuff. You know you've done wrong, you know you've done a bad act, but to play it down to protect yourself, you'll pin the blame elsewhere or disperse the blame in general as a form of damage limitation. It's as simple as, okay? Now, to finalise it in regard to the act of someone, if it was Joyce Burgau or if it was another person or another person, is it that damaging when at the end of the day, that drop box that was supposedly leaked, which actually had important sensitive material in regard to police private interview with a witness or person of interest, for that to be leaked public, I would say that's at the top of almost the worst of the worst. If you're referring to screenshots and conversations amongst general public, those not even tied within the case, who are having conversations with one another to an extent, with the exception of maybe some parents here and there. On Facebook Messenger, is it the safest place? Is it amateur? Is it really private? You'd hope so, but if it's group chat related, there's always room for trouble. People need to just learn that. It unfortunately happens, but still on a one-on-one basis, it can be dangerous as well. I think what humans needed to do is, you can trust people, but give it some time before you do open up to people or do share stuff. You rush on in, it can go wrong. You know, I could come across the odd person. Did I open up? Did I say this and that? No, because I know exactly what they were going to do. And in the past, in the Dylan Rounds case, when I didn't say much, but I was just joking about in regard to light-hearted stuff, nothing that important, nothing that big, and then the person ended up sharing the screenshots publicly online. What was it about? Probably me talking about bananas, apples or something. That's all it was. Or potatoes or carrots, I don't know. Do I look like I'm a market seller of fruit and vegetables? I don't think so. But it just kind of rung true that, so that person did that. It's a good thing I didn't actually say anything then. Yeah, there's a time and process with it all. Some people may have more trust than others. Some people may be more naive than others and might be on the receiving end at times. But, with that being said, what's most important is, regardless of what side a person is on and the intent and motive they may have in getting these screenshots and conversations which can portray others in a bad, negative light, but it's their own doing. Those who have said things, done stuff in conversations and group chats that made them look that way, they've done it to themselves. Those that get a hold of the screenshots, then reveal them publicly, could be considered a bad act, misuse of trust, but spreading awareness so other people see people's true dark side and nature for what it's really worth in the case as well. And Justin's counterpoint is, whilst you're doing that, possibly for that reason, it's lacking context because you don't see the whole conversation and what the other responses were. But unfortunately, Justin Roy has done screenshots where it will show what Jack says, but it doesn't show other conversations above or below. So you don't see the full conversation or flow to the story. But, light side, dark side, they don't always provide absolute full context. But what I will tell you is, in more so recent time, when to an extent, when the dark side have reached out with screenshots and then I've done my videos, I've added in context myself when I felt that maybe it was lacking or so, or I gave a disclaimer to acknowledge there could be stuff lacking or there could be room for improvement. Hence why live chat, freedom of speech, hence why comment section, freedom of speech for most part of it. So then when a comment or a post in regard to Robin Smith comes about, it's been done in a negative light. This screenshot what you got a hold of paints Robin in a really negative light, but there's not enough context behind it. And then you got, like, when Brooke Bounds Carter mentions about Carter came to that football game and Robin there, and Robin physically and verbally attacks Carter or so, and it goes all downhill. That was mentioned in my video, but no hard evidence of it. I made that very clear in my video. It was done appropriately. It gave the chance and opportunity for Robin Smith to respond back and say, nope, that didn't happen. It was the other way around, verbally, quite confrontational. I did nothing. I was not physical whatsoever. People can believe one side over the other, regardless. At the end of the day, I did a video covering it from one perspective amongst other stuff. Then I did a second video when there was an opportunity to do so, to show it from the other side, to allow the person to defend themselves, and that's what's most important. At times, people will portray themselves, dig themselves into a hole in a negative light. That's their own doing and recklessness. That's on them. And then other people, other times, exceptions where they could appear bad, appear negative, but it's taken out of context and the full screenshot isn't shown. But at the end of the day, one thing that's consistent is, wherever it comes from, if it's handed my way, that the coverage that I do on it in the moment or as part of a series, part 1, part 2, part 3, it will be covered with as much balance as possible. And that's what I've been saying with time and time again, which people don't listen to, is that there might be people out there that may want me to cover this or that from the perspective in regard to Alicia in a dark way or Caden in a dark way. And some people may be licking their teeth, gritting their teeth, rubbing their lips, biting their tongues, wanting it to be done in such a sharp, venom-like way. I get the material and then I'm like, you know what, it's not as bad as you think, as bad as I think. Well, actually, I can understand it from here or there, but still I can also understand it how it could be interpreted in a negative way. Well, let's mention both points of views. Let's present the material, which could portray someone in a negative way, highlight the negatives behind it and the damage it can cause, but then also highlight it from their point of view, the motives and the possible things that could be lacking, which is just balance, okay? There might be people out there that do it for different agendas or motives and it might be negative, but when it comes to me, I bring back that balance. I fill in that void. And if it can't be completely filled in with absolute facts, well, it can be later on when people respond back the horse's mouth in the comment section or live chat. So it's all under control here. But what I will say is, when it comes to the concept of resistance and backlash from it and beyond or beforehand, any resistance or backlash from people within the case directly, or family of family members, friends of friends connected to people of interest or witnesses within the case, it's all very important. You could call it drama, you could call it conflict, but all that is much more important than petty conversations of general public and strangers online within a community case, having it out with one another. That stuff is unnecessary. That stuff can be draining, but the key people within the case, or those that are connected with those of others connected within the case, all at one another's heads, that's important, because you can use the level of resistance as a measuring tool to possibly work out, oh, are you getting too close to the truth? If you get too close to the truth, some people from the dark side or the light side may push you back or push you far. You could be receiving the odd threat, warning along the way. Oh, maybe you're on the right track. We'll push a bit deeper and more. And the worse things get, then the more you might be on the right track in getting the truth. You get what I'm saying? It was more evident in the past with previous cases. It might have been a level of resistance in the Noah Presgrave case at times, but it might have been earlier on. All I would say is don't think it's the end of the world when it comes to the drama, conflict and resistance from key people within the case. Treat it as a measuring tool that could guide you in the right direction and where to push more. The more darkness, maybe the closer you are to the truth. If you are wrong about something or making mistakes, then people's responses and reactions should be of not absolute disgust, but just corrections made along the way. But when people start having their heads too far rammed and shoved up their own arse and the way they speak, the quality of what comes out their mouth is the same quality that comes out their rear. It just isn't ideal, and it paints themselves into a negative picture. I've come across problematic people with time who could be 100% innocent and not tied with the case or the death of Noah Presgrave, but how they present themselves, how they appear and act, they're almost as bad or a part of the case because of how they act. And like I was saying, yeah, you got dark side people, but then you got the third group, the misfits, which are banded along the way, which are the absolute worst. Because whilst, yes, they might claim to care about the case and for the case, at the same time, they're also attacking me. And when I say they, it could be one, but they as in the followers that support it and find it very funny, amusing, hilarious. I think it's a good thing. Then the childish evolutionary competitiveness of others out there saying, oh, Warlike Raph's too obsessed about this, Warlike Raph's obsessed about that, deep pockets, this and that. What the hell's going on about? Weird behavior, but very similar behavior and patterns from past cases back then, years ago. Different sets of people, but the same types of personalities and mentalities. It's embarrassing, okay? So whilst other people do their Make-A-Wish foundations of let's make change, let's do better, let's stop drama, let's stop conflict, it's taking focus away from Noah's case. This is out of context. You're showing this and it's damaging other people and it's not good. Then Warlike Raph steps on in, 230 plus videos later, covering the case still, mentioning valid links, comparisons, contrast, appropriate wording, timing, and making use of these dark screenshots, putting them into context myself. Oh, but that Snapchat one of Justin's daughter, where it was weaponized against the daughter, weaponized against Justin in a negative light. And then Justin Roy had the chance to share his context. I did a video or an update sharing that context, and people were still not satisfied from the light side. That says a lot. So when Warlight Raf does provide context, when Warlight Raf is dealing with material which may be cropped and lacking context by the people that got the screenshots and shared it in the first place for other reasons, that when I try my best to do it, and if it's not good enough, but then I do a follow-up video to rectify it, it's still not good enough? How embarrassing. Very. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. I don't think it's the end of the world when it comes to this drama and conflict. If it's to do with key people within the case, it's a measuring tool. And if it's used correctly, the outsider, the community drama and conflict amongst strangers, those who are not even tied to the case or are from the party, that stuff is somewhat unnecessary. That's what I would say. The act of people getting screenshots of others which show them in a negative light, I wouldn't say that's drama, that's just simply spreading awareness of people's true actions and nature and mindsets at the time, okay? Like the whole, let's blast Avery's location. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the Robin Smith situation of let's blast Avery's location, make it known, and then Donna Bond supposedly goes along with it. As for siding now, that's a bit questionable, but yeah, goes along with it, supposedly blast it. Does Avery deserve it? In a way, because of part being of the case, ongoing investigation, you push someone away, could be damaging towards the case, you could burn down bridges, waste opportunities, but heat of the moment, emotional time, victim's family, how you think, could understand that. Someone like Donna Bond, though, listening to Robin, should know better and say, hey, probably not the best thing to do. You might regret it in the future. Should have been a bit of a voice for reasoning, which may have been lacking. But you know what's lacking? Context, supposedly, is that supposed brewery visit in which let's blast that location translated to, by BBC, that it was actually in a different room of the brewery and it was to do with a baby shower, which may have involved younger people and children there. So the location was to be blasted, puts them on the map, but then puts everyone in that room in danger as well. If there was any vigilantes to come along, and if there's young children or babies, they could get caught up in it, and it could all go wrong and backfire. A call to arms, the person that initiates it may not follow through with it themselves, but other people may listen and follow in. Just like how ISIS may do these coordinated attacks or do these speeches online, and then lone wolves do it on behalf, acting on behalf of ISIS. 2015 Paris attacks, 2017 Manchester Arena bombing, and then the London Bridge attack. Yeah, that's on behalf of someone else. Call to arms. See, the ISIS effect can apply to the No Presgrave case. The rapist mentality of dismissing stuff can apply. I use dark, extreme examples to pierce through people's neural pathways because it's needed at times, okay? It's that dark, but the lighting is dark itself. Oh my God. So, I think we'll leave it there for now. Just a discussion today. Hope you found it somewhat interesting. Appreciate your patience. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.